Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hey there, and welcome to the show. I am so thrilled that you joined me today. I'm especially excited about today's episode because I have the amazing Shannon Mattern as my guest. Shannon is a seasoned web designer and business coach who has been helping freelancers create profitable and sustainable businesses. She's the founder of the Web Designer Academy and the Profitable Web Designer podcast. In my conversation with Shannon, she shares how to create freedom, flexibility, financial independence, and impact as a freelance web designer. It was a wonderful conversation, so let's get right to the interview, shall we? Shannon, it's such a delight that you're here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we get started on the real questions, I would love for you to share maybe a little fun fact about yourself that wasn't in your bio.
Ooh, this is always like a tough one for me. So I ride a four-wheeler on the weekends. So
Nice.
If I look all put together now, I like to get a little bit muddy.
Nice. Do you have some good trails right out in Ohio?
Yeah, we have an awesome national forest with hundreds of miles of trails, and we load up and we drive down there and ride all day and then come back. And it's one of the most like relaxing things because, you know, you have to think about what you're doing. So you're not thinking about all the stuff on your to-do list and you're just kind of like in the zone, and it's really fun.
Oh, I love that. You're my kind of girl. I don't go four-wheeling, but I love the Jeep trails, and which are very similar trails as those four-wheelers. So
I also have a Jeep.
All right. We are two in the same cloth. This is awesome. Shannon, you've been in business for yourself, around 6 years?
Gosh, I started in 2014. So I guess that's 8 years, right?
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Where does time go? What did life look like before you started your own business?
Oh, such a good question. Groundhog Day, the movie, the same thing over and over and over again. I would wake up, dread going to work, sit in rush hour traffic for 45 minutes, even though my office was like 8 miles from my house, and just get there. Usually probably like having a meeting starting as soon as I got there, like on Monday morning, you know, just whatever repetitive stuff at work all day, putting out fires, office drama, all of the things, just to get in my car and sit in traffic on the way home. And then at night, you know, just wanting to seek relief from my day. So, you know, just vegging out, not doing anything, you know, going out to eat and overeating, over drinking, just trying to escape from or take a break from that next day. And it was like that over and over and over and over again.
For how long?
I mean, I started working in 2003, and it didn't get to the point where I was like, wait a minute, like, why am I doing this? Like I went to, you know, college, got the degree to get the job, to get the paycheck, to get the money, to buy the house, to all the things like we're taught. And so for a while I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm doing all the right things. This is great. I'm climbing the corporate ladder. I'm getting promotions. I'm doing all of this. And then it just became like you get kind of sucked in, right? You don't see another way. It became very repetitive. So I would say, I don't know, like late 20s to mid 30s was just that like settling for, I guess this is what this is going to be. And then, you know, having that realization in my mid 30s, like this can't be everything there is. There's got to be more than this. I cannot, why did I work so hard for this? And then I remember like going to interview at other jobs because I was like, oh, it must be this job, this, this thing that I'm doing I don't like. And I remember going to interview at this company and them saying to me, well, our hours are 8 to 5. And, we understand if you have kids and you have a soccer game that you need to go to, we can be flexible with those types of commitments, but our hours are 8 to 5. And I was just like, but I don't have kids. So you're telling, like, I'm a grown adult. Like, you're telling me that it just did not compute. And I was like, oh, wait, the problem isn't the job or the company. It's this lifestyle. And I don't want this anymore.
It's so ingrained in us to go a certain route and take that job. And now you're an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. What was that catalyst that just pushed you over the edge to say, this is it, this is the path that I want to do?
Yes, I remember this so vividly. I was sitting in my office, my windowless beige office, beige desk, beige walls, under the fluorescent lights. I think the only thing that was like different color was like a navy blue carpet or something. And I was like doing this report that I hated doing, and I did it every single month. And I know nobody looked at it. I had to check the box that I did it. And I just remember in that moment, like thinking, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I started to like have a mini panic attack. Like, what am I doing? Like, I just cannot see, like, this can't be it. This cannot be it. And so I had started listening to podcasts while I was in rush hour traffic on my way to and from work. And I had listened to a podcast with Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income and Chalene Johnson of The Chalene Show. And they were talking about online entrepreneurship and online business. And, I had started to have the inkling that like, oh, I build websites as part of my job. This website for my company makes them a lot of money. I bet I could make websites like this for other companies. And so I had started, just like those seeds started growing in my mind after listening to business podcasts and listening to conversations between other entrepreneurs. I was like, oh, maybe I could do this. That website that I had built for my company, one of our vendors called me up and said, hey, who built that website for you guys? We're looking for, we have a client who needs something similar. I was like, oh, I did. And he was like, well, do you do side work? And I was like, yeah, I do now. And so I took on that job. And then just in telling other people about it, people are like, oh, you're a web designer? I need someone for this and this. And I started to get clients. And then listening to that podcast with Chalene Johnson and Pat Flynn, I was just like, this, I'm going to quit my day job. I'm going to turn this into a business, and I'm going to quit my day job, and I'm going to be a freelance web designer, and I'm going to replace my income. And that's really how it all got started.
That is awesome. Now, was there any doubts, or did you just like, okay, I heard this podcast and I'm just going to go ahead and quit? Or did you do some prep work? Or
I did not quit right away. No way. I am very much risk averse. I wanted to, my financial security is very important to me. And I didn't have a pile of cash sitting there to use to kind of get through those initial times of quitting. And so I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was capable of doing it. The belief of me doing it was so strong. I think I've never believed in anything that much in my life. And at the same time, I still had the belief that having a day job was the most secure thing that I could have. And I've come to find out that that's not always the case. But so I had this, like, as they say, the golden handcuffs on. Right. So I had a really good job, a great salary. On paper, I should have been really happy. And so I had a lot of guilt about wanting something more. And I was like, well, I will side hustle and I will build up this business. And then when I've replaced my paycheck, I will quit. When I can prove that I can pay myself a salary, pay taxes, pay all my business expenses, then I'll put in my notice. And it took me 3 years to get there of trial and error and undercharging and not having boundaries with clients and ditching clients altogether and going the teaching, training, courses route, bringing clients back in, having a blend of those, like so many different things, but I never quit. And 3 years in, I hit that revenue goal 2 months in a row. And then I put a 7-month notice in at my day job.
7 months.
7 months. 7 months. I had gotten promoted to an executive role because during that time, one of my business coaches was like, you cannot take this level of misery you feel at your day job into your company. She's like, you have got to turn. She's like, this isn't about your company. You've got to change your thoughts, change how you're thinking so that you have the energy to do both things. And because of that, I kept getting promoted at my day job. And I kept accepting those promotions because I wasn't ready to leave, but I was fully transparent that I have this other business and I do plan to leave. And we were in an executive planning meeting, planning projects for the next year. And that's when I said, I gave my notice. I was like, hey, I know we want to plan this project for next year, but I'm not going to be here to run it. Like, consider this my official notice. I'm leaving at the end of the year. And that gives us plenty of runway to find someone and, everything. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, my husband's going to kill me when I get home and I tell him that I actually put my notice in. So at least that gives him some time to come around to the idea that this is happening. Because in my mind, I knew this is happening. But in my conversations with him, I knew that he would be like, oh, okay, well, she can always take it back if it doesn't work out. She's got enough time. And I needed to give him that buffer for him to be comfortable with it because he was so super supportive of me, but he still has an employee mindset that a day job is the safest thing. So I stuck to that. I put my 7-month notice in and I quit at the end of 2017. My first day of self-employment was January 2nd of 2018.
You bring up an interesting point because there's people in our lives that may not be as on board with our goals and our dreams as what we are. Was that an obstacle for you? Were there other family and friends that probably just looking out for you was concerned?
Everyone was very supportive and everyone believed I was capable and everyone believed in me as much as I believed in myself. And at the same time, because my husband and I are both contributing to the household, he was very fearful, like I was, that what if it doesn't work out? And he said to me, I came home and I told him, I put my notice in and he goes, well, you can take it back, right? And I was like, yeah, well, of course I can, but I'm not going to. And he's like, look, I trust you. I know you're more than capable and we'll give it a year after it ends. And you just have to promise me that if it doesn't work out, you'll go get a job. And I was like, of course I'll promise. And I'm like, that's in my mind. I'm like, it's never going to happen. But if it makes you feel better, 1,000%, I can make that promise to you. I made that promise. And it's like, yeah, I always have that as a fallback. It has blown his mind what this business has been capable of creating for us. And yet still he feels like he needs to have a job with a paycheck so that even though we don't necessarily always need him to, he feels that way for his own security. So my experience was I'm going to let them come along at their own pace. I'm not going to try to convince them, or I'm not going to, get in these conversations you don't support me, or I'm not going to think that I don't have support. I'm just going to be it's okay. You can think what you think. You'll come along once you see what happens. And so that was a very helpful way to go about it for me, because when you feel like you don't have support, it just makes it such a grind, and it can be fun and beautiful, especially I'm the only one that needs to believe in myself to make this happen.
We talked about what life was like before, and then you worked dual roles. It actually improved your status as an employee. So then how does life look like now?
So now, I have 2 employees that work on the team. Our structure is the structure I wish I always had at corporate. you are responsible for these outcomes and you get to make your own schedule and do that on your own time. I make my own schedule. I work, on my own terms. We now teach and coach web designers to run profitable, sustainable businesses, because when I first started out, I was not running a profitable or sustainable business. And I was completely like, I did everything you could imagine, like wrong or the hard way. And so now it is like my joy and privilege to help other freelancers, freelance web designers specifically, not do it the way that I did it in those early days. So it's lovely. I can work from wherever I want. I have an amazing team. We have an incredible community. We still teach regular entrepreneurs, non-web designers, DIYers, how to build their website with our free trainings. We have podcasts, like we create so much content, and it's everything I ever thought it would be back in 2014 when I was like, I'm doing this and it's going to work out. There was a period like right after I quit my day job, that I didn't feel this way. Like I was scared. I was overworking to try to like hustle my way out, through the fear. And I was doing everything myself and being cheap and not investing in mentorship because I was afraid, what if I can't pay myself? I went through that after quitting, and I spent like a year and a half, 2 years kind of in that place where it's like, I'm making money, but at what cost? Right? Like to my mental and physical health. And then I'm like, I can't keep trying to do everything on my own. I need support. That's when I really started hiring coaches and mentors and people to help me navigate the mental side of business and the mindset side, and really shifting myself from like a fear-based scarcity and expense minded to an abundant investment minded possibility kind of person. And that's like where I operate from today. But it wasn't like, oh, I quit and I was just automatically like, everything's great. I had to go through that period of uncertainty and like, wait, what if I made the wrong decision? Or what if I don't make enough money this month? And get some support for that stuff, because I couldn't break out of that thought cycle on my own. So yeah, today is magical. It wasn't that way on January 2nd, 2018, for sure.
No, I think that you're right. It has to be a transition, because a friend of mine called it corporate think. And it took me a while to get out of this corporate think. So I left corporate in that mindset, and I just shifted that mindset right into my business. And that's the wrong way to go. Is there something that you know now that you wish you knew back then that might have helped your journey along a little bit better?
So many things, but the thing that I know that would have helped my journey along would be hiring a business coach, the right one for the level that I was at. Being a techie person, being a web designer, wanting to, do freelance web design, but also like run an online business and all of the, strategy and marketing and all the tech that's involved in that. I have this, it's almost like my Achilles heel, right? It's like, I have this, I can figure out how to do anything. I never doubt my ability to figure something out. However, that really hampers me because I close myself off from asking for support, getting help, getting mentorship. That thought also comes from like a very scarce mindset, because it was like, oh, I can't spend money on this, because if it doesn't work out, then I will have lost that money. And then that to me at the time was like, then I have failed, or I have done something wrong or bad. My resourcefulness is like what got me here, but it is also what held me back for, it's what made me take as long as I took. And it wasn't until I was like, I'm going to make a significant investment in coaching that feels really uncomfortable to me, that stretches me out of my comfort zone, but not to the point where it's like, oh crap, what did I do? To the point where it's like, I'm coming back for this money. I'm just handing it to you. to hold on to for a little bit while you teach me what I need to know to come back for it and give me the support that I need to develop the skills to recoup my investment and create a return on it. And when I started doing that, like intentionally investing in things that were stretchy and that I knew would help me, not just like spending it for the sake of spending it, but doing my due diligence to be like, is this the right coach for me? Is this what I need? And not just courses, not just self-study stuff, because self-study is great, but it doesn't help you see what you don't see. It doesn't get you out of your own way. It doesn't show you your blind spots. Is this the right thing? And then being willing to be uncomfortable enough to take massive action to create the result that I'm there for. And once I started doing that, my revenue, I have income reports on my podcast, and I was like rereading one of them from December of 2019 this morning, and I was like so excited that I made $120,000 that year. Well, last year we made $500,000, and that is a direct result of me being willing to invest in mentorship and get out of my own way and let other people help me shift how I was thinking so that I could create those results.
Do you have any tips, or what was your due diligence on finding the right coach or mentor at that stage of your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been an evolution, right? There are people who are right for you at a certain place in business. I'm all about building relationships, right? And so I'm looking at who else is in my space, in my industry, reaching out to them, people who are getting the results I want, reaching out to them and asking them, who are you working with? 9 times out of 10, they're working with someone. There are just podcasts that you listen to from coaches and different things. So finding the person who resonates with you, with where you're at in your business. I think that's the due diligence piece is like, let's not get caught up in the hype of someone's going to come in and teach me a strategy for social media that's going to explode my business. Like, those types of, this is just my opinion, but fast promises of fast results and explosions and 10Xs and whatever, I'm like, I steered clear of that. I really want like someone who's going to help me with my mindset, some strategy, some next level strategy that maybe I haven't considered before. But if I'm like, this is a great example. If you're going to say that Instagram is the way for me to explode my business and you can come teach me that and coach me on it, and I have a aversion to being on social media that way, which is very true for me, you're not the coach for me. Like, I don't care if Instagram works for everybody else. If that's not where I want to be, I'm not going to go down that road, even if your strategies work for other people. It has to be a good fit for me and how I want to run my business, because I like you said, live full, work fun. I want my work to be fun. And if I'm dreading that, even if it works for other people, that's not a good fit for me. So I want to find somebody who's teaching a strategy that feels good to me and that I am excited to implement, not that I'm like dreading or think, well, this is what I have to do to be successful, because that's not fun.
You bring up such great points that we have to just really look within ourselves, because we can design whatever work life we want. If one thing isn't fun for us, we can still be successful in another way.
And being willing to stop thinking of the money that you would quote unquote spend on that program as like an expense and money gone, and start thinking of it as like, this is an investment in me and my business and what I really want to create. And anytime I'm making an investment, I want to make sure that it feels aligned for me, but also I'm committed to whatever. Like, I'm not giving this person money expecting them to create my results for me. I am making this investment in myself, and I'm going to show up and do everything that they tell me to do and ask for help and do all the things, because just signing up for something isn't going to get you anywhere. You have to be fully committed to it. And you're only going to be fully committed to something if you actually like it. So choose somebody and something you like.
Oh, true. Now, Shannon, I usually ask my guests to share their favorite resource or book that's made a big difference, either personally or professionally. But I've picked out several things within our conversation. But I'm going to go ahead and throw that out to you if there's a specific resource or book that you want to share.
Yeah, I think there's two that really shifted things for me. One is called Chill and Prosper by Denise Duffield Thomas. It used to be called Chillpreneur, but she just re-released it as Chill and Prosper. And it really kind of like talks about this concept of like having the business and the life that you love can be really easy. We get to let it be easy. We get to shift the way we think about ourselves and our value and the value of our knowledge and the impact that it has on people. And that shifted so many things for me when I was like, oh, I'm allowed to sell my intellectual property and not my time. I'm allowed to sell my ideas and not have to actually physically deliver them. And I've known that, but like thinking of it that way really helped me detach myself from like, oh, when I'm charging a premium price for this program, I also don't have to physically be there. There's value in what I've created. And that has created tons of freedom for me. And then the other one is The Middle Finger Project by Ash Amberjay. And she's an author and a blogger. And it's basically like, how do you freelance fearlessly, and how do you break out of, you call it corporate think, but I think of it as like, how do you break out of the employee mindset into an entrepreneur mindset? How do you get the courage to design a business that you want and then tell other people like, this is the way that it works. Like, I'm not beholden to you. I'm running the show, and here's a way, like, here's how I work, and still do that in a way that feels good to you, right? It doesn't have to be like adversarial or aggressive, but just like reading her story and her message about like, you get to set boundaries and you don't have to do everything your clients ask you to do. It's like, wait, what? I don't have to do? Oh, wait, my clients aren't my bosses. I'm the one in charge here. I get to decide. And here's how I go about it. And those two were really very pivotal for me.
Oh, I'm looking forward to looking those up. Awesome.
They're good. A little sweary. The Middle Finger Project's a little sweary, but
I can handle that.
Still really good.
So Shannon, how does everybody stay in contact with you?
Yeah, the best place to go is just my website, shannonmattern.com. And there you'll find link to my Pep Talks for Side Hustlers podcast, which we're not publishing new episodes of that now, but there's 375 awesome episodes. Instagram. There's a link to our Web Designer Academy there. If you're a freelance web designer and you're interested in that, we'll be launching our Profitable Web Designer podcast very soon. So many resources, and all can be found at shannonmattern.com. Oh, and our free DIY web design training. Like, that's like our flagship product there, the free 5-day website challenge. You can sign up for that too as well.
Nice. Excellent. Well, it has been a pleasure talking with you. I am so delighted that I got to meet you earlier in the year and we get to sit here and chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. What stood out the most to you in my conversation with Shannon? Let's continue this conversation. Hop over to Facebook and post what your biggest takeaway was in today's show in the Live Full Work Fun Facebook group. And one last thing. Do you know at least one person who could benefit from what Shannon shared? Just please share the episode link with them. That would be fantastic. Thanks again for listening. And until next time, live full, work fun.